The United Center was rocking, the city of Chicago alive with a belief it hadn't felt since the days of Michael Jordan. It was 2011, and a 22-year-old phenom named Derrick Rose was rewriting the story of basketball. He wasn't just good, he was spectacular. The youngest MVP in NBA history, flying down the court with lightning speed, slicing through defenders with fearless drives, and carrying the Bulls on his back. Chicago believed they had found their savior, the man who would lead them back to championship glory. But then, in one tragic moment, it all came crashing down. Rose's knee buckled, and with it, the dream of a dynasty disappeared. But what if it never happened? What if Derrick Rose never got injured? What if his career had stayed on the trajectory of greatness that seemed inevitable? To answer that, we need to step back to the beginning of Rose's rise. Derrick Rose grew up in Englewood, one of Chicago's toughest neighborhoods. From the very beginning, he was different. His speed, his vertical, and his feel for the game were gifts the city hadn't seen in decades. By the time he was at Simeon Career Academy, he was a legend in the making. 2 state championships, McDonald's All-American honors, and the label of Chicago's chosen one. Unlike other players who bounced from city to city, Derrick carried the pride of Chicago in his DNA. When the Bulls drafted him first overall in 2008, it felt like destiny. Rose's rookie season confirmed the hype. Rookie of the Year, instant impact, and a playoff debut against the defending champion Boston Celtics that still stands as one of the greatest series ever played. Rose wasn't just a star, he was the future. By 2010, Chicago surrounded him with the right pieces. Joakim Noah anchoring the defense, Luol Deng as a reliable scorer, and Carlos Boozer adding experience. Tom Thibodeau brought in his defensive system, and the Bulls became a powerhouse. Then came 2011. Rose averaged 25 points, 7.7 assists, and 4 rebounds per game. He led the Bulls to the best record in the NBA. And at just 22 years old, he became the youngest MVP in league history. Chicago hadn't felt this electric since Jordan, and fans truly believed the championship window was wide open. But then reality struck. In April 2012, in a first-round playoff game against the 76ers, Derrick Rose's ACL tore. It wasn't just an injury, it was the collapse of a dynasty before it began. Chicago went from believing they could dethrone LeBron's Miami Heat to watching their dreams fade into what-ifs. Rose's career became a story of perseverance, comeback attempts, and flashes of brilliance, but he never reached the heights he once promised. But in this alternate timeline, we erase that one moment. Derrick Rose never tears his ACL. The fall never comes. His career continues on its natural arc, and with it, the entire NBA landscape shifts. Let's imagine the 2012 playoffs again. Rose stays healthy, and the Bulls face off against the Philadelphia 76ers. With Rose, the Bulls dominate, winning in 5 games. The second round sets up a battle against the Boston Celtics, the veteran team holding on for one last run. With Rose's unstoppable drives and MVP energy, Chicago advances. Then comes the showdown, Chicago versus Miami. Derrick Rose versus LeBron James, Dwyane Wade, and Chris Bosh. In real life, the Bulls lost this war. But in this alternate reality, a fully healthy Rose pushes Miami to the brink. His speed outpaces Miami's defense, his playmaking opens opportunities for Deng and Boozer, and his clutch scoring gives Chicago a chance. Could the Bulls have beaten Miami in 2012? Possibly not. Miami was stacked. But unlike reality, where they fell apart without Rose, this time the Bulls battle to 7 games. And even if they fall short, the message is clear. Chicago is coming. The following season, 2013, changes everything. Miami may have won back-to-back championships in our reality, but with Rose healthy, the balance of power shifts. By now, Rose is entering his prime. He's faster, smarter, and hungrier. His averages climb into the 27 points per game range, his assists near double digits, and the Bulls are a nightmare matchup defensively. By 2013, Miami faces not just Indiana as a challenger, but a fully armed Chicago team led by a superstar who fears no one. In this world, LeBron's dominance doesn't go uncontested. It's shared with Derrick Rose. By 2014, the Chicago Bulls become the team to beat. Joakim Noah wins Defensive Player of the Year, and with Rose healthy, Chicago pairs elite defense with unstoppable offense. Miami still wins games, but the Bulls now have the edge. And when LeBron eventually leaves Miami in 2014 to return to Cleveland, the storyline changes dramatically. Instead of returning to a franchise desperate for hope, LeBron comes back to face a Rose-led dynasty. Cleveland and Chicago become bitter rivals, their games must-see TV. As the alternate timeline moves into 2015, the NBA looks completely different. Golden State is beginning its rise with Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. But instead of the Warriors having a clean path to dominance, they re-met by a Chicago team already hardened from years of playoff wars with Miami and Cleveland. Rose is still in his prime, explosive, fearless, and driven to claim what he nearly lost. This is the version of Rose fans always dreamed of, the one who could shift the balance of power in the league. In the real world, Rose was battling surgeries and setbacks. But in this alternate world, he's stacking MVP-caliber seasons. 2015 becomes the year of the collision course. Derrick Rose S. Bulls versus Steph Curry S. Warriors. Chicago still holds its defensive identity, with Noah, Butler, and Taj Gibson locking down opponents. Rose becomes the offensive engine, dropping 30-point playoff games with regularity. For the NBA, it's a dream matchup. The explosive guard who redefined speed against the revolutionary shooter who redefined spacing. The finals of 2015 are a classic. Golden State runs its motion-heavy offense, splashing threes from everywhere. Chicago, with Rose at the peak of his powers, counters with relentless drives and clutch scoring. Games go back and forth, the United Center rocking like it did in the Jordan days. In this timeline, Golden State doesn't get a relatively easy first championship. Instead, they're tested by Rose, whose presence alone forces Curry and Thompson to adjust. Even if Golden State edges them out, Rose cements himself as LeBron's equal in the East and Curry's rival across the league. By 2016, the league faces an arms race. In reality, the Cavaliers and Warriors created a 4-year final saga. But here, it's not guaranteed. Chicago remains a powerhouse, and Rose is now a global icon. Adidas builds entire marketing campaigns around him as the savior of Chicago basketball. Kids grow up mimicking his crossover and acrobatic finishes, just as they once did with Iverson or Jordan. And with every passing year, his resume grows. Multiple MVPs, All-NBA first teams, and constant trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. Then comes the climax of this alternate history. In 2017, the Bulls are matched against LeBron's Cavaliers, with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love at their side. In our timeline, the Cavaliers ran through the East, but here, the Bulls stopped them in their tracks. Rose versus Irving becomes a point guard duel for the ages. The fearless slasher against the silky shotmaker. Game after game, Rose delivers, hitting dagger mid-range jumpers, finishing over defenders, and proving he is still Chicago's chosen son. In this version of history, the Bulls dethrone Cleveland, setting up another finals matchup against Golden State. Imagine it. Rose versus Curry. LeBron already eliminated, and the NBA landscape split into chaos. Rose's Bulls don't just compete, they steal a championship. Whether in 2016 or 2017, Chicago finally raises another banner. Derrick Rose, the kid from Englewood, delivers on the destiny everyone thought was lost the day his knee buckled. The United Center explodes in celebration, and Chicago fans embrace a new legend. The resolution of this story is powerful. Rose's legacy transforms from what could have been to one of the greatest to ever do it. He is remembered not as the star who was derailed by injuries, but as the man who carried Chicago after Jordan. He finishes his career with at least one championship, maybe two, and his place in NBA history shifts dramatically. He becomes the benchmark for young guards, the player everyone studies when learning how to dominate the game with speed and heart. And beyond basketball, the impact is even bigger. Chicago itself carries pride, having watched one of their own bring glory back to the city. The narrative of LeBron's dominance is altered, Curry's rise is contested, and the storylines of the 2010s are rewritten. Rose remains not just an MVP, but a living legend, a symbol of resilience and what's possible when destiny isn't interrupted by injury. So when we ask the question, what if Derrick Rose never got injured? The answer is clear. The NBA of the 2010s looks very different. Championships are shared, legacies rewritten, and the city of Chicago celebrates a new dynasty. Derrick Rose's story changes from tragedy to triumph, and his name forever echoes alongside the greatest to ever play the game.